First, I'm excited to have Johanna on stage to talk about what digital and circular economy means in Wärtsilä. We have spoken earlier a little bit that the term circular economy is in companies very often not used very often, but it's more topics like energy efficiency, resource efficiency, supply chain transparency, topics like that are talked about. And the term circular economy is basically just a backdrop for that, but it's not the primary target. But there's a lot of things going on at Wärtsilä, so looking forward to hear about those.
Good evening. Good afternoon, everybody. So, Johanna Fräki from Wärtsilä, Wärtsilä Marine Business, and I'm heading the innovation team there since a year and a half. Better now?
Yes.
Okay. A few words about that. So we have 19,000 people in over 200 locations in over 80 countries, with net sales of over 5 billion. And this year we're celebrating our 185-year birthday. I think that's quite an achievement for any company. And you can imagine how many transformations we have been going through those 185 years. From making iron, to building ships, to building marine engines, and then to an energy company. And now we are in the middle of yet another huge transformation. And the transformation has been started with a totally new purpose. So I think this is now the new way of saying mission. The purpose of Wärtsilä is to enable sustainable societies with smart technologies. And this is actually quite a big change, this smart technology. Our perception today is still, at least if you read the Finnish press, that this is a diesel engine manufacturer. So now we say that we are a smart technology company with a purpose to enable sustainable society. So this is really a big change. We have two businesses, the smart energy business or energy business and marine business. The vision of the energy business is to provide 100% renewable energy. Let's talk a bit about the oceans, which is a kind of quite huge ecosystem. 90% of the world trade is transported via oceans. And it is the most cost-efficient way of transporting goods. However, there are a lot of inefficiencies in marine industries. Imagine a typical container captain is always rushing to reach the destination. And what happens at the destination? He waits in the port for several weeks, in the worst case, in order to upload or unload the cargo. So much inefficiencies in fuel consumption, in waiting time, in capacity. Most of the ships are, majority of the time, they are not full, they are half empty or totally empty. And that inefficiency is calculated to represent 30 billion euros, or dollars in this case. Or the kind of impact of shipping into the climate change and pollution. Shipping accounts for 3% of the CO2 emissions in the world. That doesn't sound like much, but it's as much as Germany is polluting every year, accounting to 1 million tons of CO2. What's the impact? It's calculated that shipping only in Europe kills 50,000 people prematurely every year. To mitigate climate change impacts, already last year $330 billion was used. So these are examples of inefficiencies and waste we're tackling now with this smart marine vision strategy, which is about connecting smart vessels to smart ports. So what does that mean? What is smart vessel? We think that we have to and we can enhance a vessel performance by automation, but it doesn't mean necessarily that we don't need any people on board at all. In order to optimize the time of departure and arrival, we need to have a smart port infrastructure as well. Connecting these to each other, we first have to connect all the equipment on board to each other, all the vessels to each other, fleets to each other, fleets to the ports, and ports to the cities, and in the cities to the people. So there are a lot of connectivity involved here as well. All this connectivity requires collaboration. No one company can make this vision happen alone. And thus we have launched an initiative, a call to action, to call all cities and ports, all ship owners, politicians, to work together towards this common goal of sustainability. In order to explain this a bit more, I'll show you a short film, which is called An Oceanic Awakening.
The future's not what it used to be. The city was a place you could be sure of getting work. People flocked here by the millions. The promise of a better life. Fast forward to your parents' time. Building a home and raising a family. And as you grew, so did the city. With waves of change, our lifestyles evolved. Things that excited us, the way we consume, faster and faster. But the city wasn't built to go like this, and the cracks started to show. Resources stretched to the breaking point. Weight buckling the foundation. Our imagined future, a fading mirage. A broken city. A broken dream. Change needs to come. The city's problems can be solved on the ocean. The environment depends on it. Infrastructure depends on it. Our children's quality of life depends on it. Our journey with the sea is just beginning. It's time for a worldwide awakening on an oceanic scale.
So you see, the message is very much on sustainability, and this was made because we can't.
Mike.
Ah, sorry. It's okay. We can't make this happen alone, and we need to get together with all stakeholders. We are even we have arranged another initiative supported by this called C20, where we invite cities, port cities, to work together to share experiences and share data, and support these initiatives. We have already Helsinki, Hamburg, Rotterdam, Singapore signed to it, and we aim to have 20 cities signed by the end of the year. The marine industry has been traditionally very slow to adopt new technologies. New technologies are typically first adopted in consumer business and aviation and car industries, and when they are very thoroughly tested and proved, then they will come to the shipping industry. It's a very old-fashioned industry, it's very complicated and complex, and very importantly, margins are very, very small. So it's very kind of big kind of reluctances often to engage in new technologies. But now the time has come. Prices are going down in different kind of. If we think of renewable energies, so in solar panels, in battery prices, so all this is helping to in the pathway towards zero-emission shipping, for example. This drive towards sustainability and emergence and availability of new technologies, with combined with this customer centricity we have in Wärtsilä, now leads me to this topic of circular economy, as they are the building blocks for the circular economy. And I'll give you a few examples of what we're doing in Wärtsilä. And I just admitted to Michael that we don't call this circular economy in the company. And I figured out that this is called circular economy from Teknologiateollisuus web pages of slides they put together with Sitra. But of course these examples are real, that we are doing those in order to have a better world and a better business also with our customers. So that has been the driving force there. But the first example here is about our subsidiary Eniram. If we think of these three different building blocks, so technology, Eniram is an artificial intelligence company and data analysis company, so analyzing algorithms, having a huge amounts of engine data coming from all over the world, of thousands of engines and hundreds of ships. Customer centricity, mobile applications developed together with the customers, and sustainability, so a lot of fuel savings done with the route optimization. I visited the Eniram offices in Fort Lauderdale a year ago. They showed quite an interesting example. They had these huge monitors. They are following many ships and engines at the same time. And they wondered once, why is this specific cruise ship suddenly consuming so much more fuel than it should be? And all the maintenance has been done and everything is should be ordered. And then they found out that that particular cruise ship had been placed to Rio de Janeiro for the Olympics as to serve as a hotel. And it had stayed there for a couple of weeks without moving, and there was so many barnacles in the hull that suddenly it made it how to call it a lot of more fuel was needed to make the fish go forward. So that was something that even the shipping companies don't realize that will happen, but by following this data, all these kind of things are possible. So, our approach to this circular economy is very much the waste I was explaining earlier. So here are just figures per segments, how much we are losing in fuel efficiencies and time and terminal per segments. And it's by kind of looking at these inefficiencies and waste that we can find quite significant about new business opportunities as well. And that's obviously driving. This is something I show in Wärtsilä, that look, we are a benchmark company, because we kind of, as I explained, we didn't really know this. But in ship design, manufacturing, and maintenance. And if we look at these 5 business models in circular economy, we have kind of very nice examples in all of these. In the supply chain, for example, we are looking at these biofuels and synthetic fuels as well. So that's kind of a good example there. I will tell about the other examples later. The only one where I don't have any examples now is the sharing platform. And I've been with my team. We have been thinking that this could be a very interesting area to find new business and try out something. But if you have any suggestions on sharing platform in the marine industry, please come to talk to me after these presentations. But on this marine value chain, start from the beginning, build to last. I think a very kind of interesting, nice example of this sustainability and circular economy. I visited an icebreaker a couple of months ago, Sisu, and went to the engine room and found a Wärtsilä engine from 1976. So obviously, the good quality you provide to the engines is a fundamental building block. Then if you talk about engines and building them, the modular design that has been introduced already a long time ago to them, enable reuse of parts and backward compatibility. We reuse materials like the bronze in the propulsion systems. They will be kind of used to make new propulsion systems. All little bit parts and engines, if they get worn out, we repair them. And they are as good as new, but very much cheaper for the customer. And a very interesting example on this performance as a service sphere is, you know that from our business, energy and marine business, most of the profit comes from services. So in this model, we offer service to a cruise company, Carnival, and it's performance-based service. So it's not scheduled at certain intervals, but we follow all data coming from the engines and the ships, and then we intervene just in time. So it's not too little and not too much service either. And it's optimizing the fleet performance wonderfully. We have 78 ships there with 400 engines, and with this performance-based maintenance agreement, we can have savings of $10 million a year. And what's very innovative in the system as well is that how we profit, we split that profit to each of the companies. I think that's kind of very nice and interesting example. And you're looking at me like I'm over my time. So I'll go forward. Now this is stuck. I don't know why. It's stuck, but nevertheless, I think that's the last example would be going back to the film and the message of that we can't do this alone. We have started to build this smart marine ecosystem and collaboration on different levels. I talked about the cities, but then we are collaborating with our customers and suppliers. We have digital acceleration centers built. We have one in Helsinki here in Salmisaari, one in Singapore, one is coming in Hamburg, where we kind of very quickly try to develop and pilot digital solutions. Then we have actually a smart technology hub being built currently in Vaasa, where we have a huge prototyping area very close to our engine factory. And then we are engaging a large ecosystem in future Future Innovation Days we arrange around the world with different topics, very much around the zero-emission shipping and renewable energy production and storage and new business models. So we invite not only our customers but also competitors and academia, investors, and just the one.
Next
Yes, this is the spot Culture Hub.
Good.
So to work with us and ideate a better future, and then sometimes we take one of those ideas and start working with them. Okay, I think that was about the time I was allocated for my part. So, do you have any questions at this time? Is there any time for questions at this time?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we have the Q&A later on, but if someone has an urgent question right away, then happy to take that.
Perhaps there is, I don't know, about the sharing platform for the marine industry. What kind of platforms are you thinking? What requirements do you have for those?
I'm not thinking of any solution or any requirements. I'm just looking at the kind of fundamental ideas, what could be done there. It sounds like you could have some, so let's talk.
Good. Perfect.